translating these priceless scriptures. He has spent countless sleepless nights in translating the scripture, and that is how we have this priceless scripture, this treasure of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in our hands. And Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has been glorified in many other scriptures also. In one of our Gaudiya Vaishnava scriptures, the author, the Vrindavan Das Thakur, he writes that Bhagavat pustak tha kahe yaar ghare kon mangal nahi hai, Bhagavat pujile Krishnera pujaya, Bhagavat pathan shravana bhaktimaya kaya. So if there is a house, if there is the pustak, the book Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then no inauspiciousness can enter this house. And Bhagavat, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Krishna himself. So when we worship Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is like we are worshipping Krishna himself in his personal form. And when we hear and read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it awakens devotion in our heart. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Krishna himself, and we can always approach Krishna through the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and get the spiritual inspiration and guidance at all stages of our life. Today is also Ekadashi, the auspicious day of Shayani Ekadashi, Devshayani Ekadashi. So I am very grateful for this opportunity on this day. The hearing, reciting and discussing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is called the direct form of devotional service to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And when we give the sincere attention to the narrations of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then it purifies our heart. It gives us opportunity to worship Krishna directly and please him. So even in Bhagavatam itself, 12th canto, 12th chapter, 68th verse, Sukadeva Goswami glorifies the importance of discussing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam on the day of Ekadashi. He says that on the day of Dvadashi or Ekadashi, the one who hears Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he for sure gets a long life, and the one who recites Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the one who speaks on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, gets liberation from all the sinful reactions. So I know I am not qualified to speak Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, such an elevated scripture, but by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, and all the previous acharyas in our parampara, I will try to speak whatever I have heard from Srila Prabhupada and his followers. And whatever meaningful or useful that comes from whatever I speak, it all belongs to Srila Prabhupada, and whatever mistakes, misunderstandings or misinterpretations that I make, they are all on me. And if I make any mistakes, any offenses in my speaking, I speak for one Vaishnava's forgiveness in advance. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So we are reading from Canto 5. Canto 5 is called the Creative Impetus. So I'll just give a quick context before we start our today's verse. So in Canto 3 and 4, we saw the narrations about Lord Brahma's one of the sons, Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu, he had two sons, Uttanapad and Maharaj Priyavat. So Canto 3 and 4, in Canto 3 we saw about Swayambhu Manu and his dynasty. Then in Canto 4 we saw Maharaj Uttanapad, then his son Dhruva Maharaj, then Anga, Vena, Pruthu Maharaj and their dynasty. And then in Canto 5 now we are seeing the dynasty of other son of Swayambhu Manu, Priyavrat. So in chapter 1 we saw about Maharaj Priyavat's life, how he wanted to remain in the renounced order of life, but because his father Swayambhu Manu and his grandfather Lord Brahma encouraged him, inspired him, insisted that he takes the Grihastha life. So he entered Grihastha life, he got married, he had children, and 9 children, and then he had divided the Bhumandal into 7 dvipas, 7 islands, which are separated by 7 oceans. So after that we see chapter 2. So one of the dvipas, Jambu Dvipa, and one of the sons of Priyavrat, Maharaj Agnitra, he rules in Jambu Dvip, and we see about his life in chapter 2. And he divides the Jambu Dvip into 9 different varshas. And then one of the varsha is Ajanabha Varsha. So chapter 3 we see about Maharaj Nabi, who is ruling the Ajanabha Varsha, and he performs fire sacrifice because he wants to have a son who is similar to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And Supreme Lord gets pleased by his sacrifice and appears before him, and because nobody can be equal to Supreme Lord himself, so he agrees to appear as King Nabi's son, Lord Rishabhdev. And so now we enter chapter 4, and that is what we are seeing, the life of King Rishabhdev. And chapter 4 is titled that the characteristics of Lord Rishabhdev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, as the title says, Rishabhdev is an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki. So, from his birth itself, Rishabhdev, he manifested the symbols, the proofs that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan. On the sole of his feet, there were the auspicious symbols that are described in the scriptures as the symbols on the feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And so all the symbols, Shankha, Chakra, Pada, Kada, Padma, Vajra, all these symbols on the soles of his feet, they were there. Also, Bhagwan is defined as per Parasharamuni's definition. Bhagwan is defined to have the 6 opulences, the Bhaga. So he displayed all these opulences, also his beauty, his fame, his power, his popularity, his very well-built, beautiful appearance. He became so popular among his citizens and brahmanas and all the learned sages that they all wanted him to become the ruler. Looking at his characteristics, because he was the best, best means Shrestha. He was best among the men, so his father, King Nabi, named him Rishabha. Rishabha means best among the men. So that's how he was named King Rishabhdev. And so he was enthroned when King Nabi retired and he went to Badrikashram to perform tapasya. He enthroned Maharaj Rishabhdev as the next ruler, and he was a very powerful ruler. He was so his influence was so much that once there was no rain in Ajanabha Varsha, and then he, by his own potency, he didn't bother about praying to Lord Indra, the Lord of Rain or something like that. By his own potency, he covered the Ajanabha Varsha in ample rain, and so that's how in many other ways he ensured the prosperity of his praja, his subjects. And we hear from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita the reasons why Supreme Lord appears. Paripranaya sadhuna vinashaya chatishkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami. So in this incarnation, when Lord Rishabhdev has appeared, he has come to give pleasure to his devotee Maharaj Nabi, his father. There are no demons or miscreants to punish in this incarnation, but dharma samsthapanarthaya, he has come to establish dharma. He has come to establish varnashram dharma. He is accepting household life, grihastha life, just like all of us, and he is demonstrating by his own life, teaching by his own life how one can follow varnashram dharma, and just by doing that attain the perfection of their life. So he has come in a form like us, human-like, two-handed Dvibhuja form, and he is showing how we can attain the perfection of our life in this human form. So he enters Grihastha life, he married to King Jayanti, and they have together 100 sons. And so when he also, he rules very nicely, then he also retires and makes his sons the rulers, the next rulers. And then in the next chapter we will see that he instructs his sons, and they are very beautiful instructions. So now we will enter our today's verse with all these background. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati neshtihi. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya.
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 Yad yad shirshanyacharitam tat tat anuvartate lokaha. Yad yad shirshanyacharitam tat tat anuvartate lokaha. Yad yad shirshanyacharitam tat tat anuvartate lokaha. It's a nice and small verse. Would any devotees like to recite also?
Yad yad shirshanyacharitam
Yad yad
Shirshanyacharitam
anuvartate lokaha.
tat tat
anuvartate lokaha.
Shirshanyacharitam
yad yad tat tat
anuvartate lokaha.
yad yad
Shirshanyacharitam anuvartate lokaha.
Yad shirshanyacharitam tad anuvartate lokaha.
Any devotees on Zoom, please?
Yad shirshanyacharitam
Yad sirsanya acharitam
tad anuvartate lokaha.
tat anuvartate lokaha. Yad sirsanya acharitam
Yad shirshanyacharitam
tat anuvartate lokaha.
tad anuvartate lokaha.
Let's read the word to word. Please repeat after me. Yat yat
Yad seva
shirshanya
sirsanya
by the leading personality.
By the leading personalities.
Acharitam
Acharitam
performed.
performed.
Tat tat
Tad
anuvartate
anuvartate
follow.
follow.
Lokaha
Lokaha
people in general.
people in general.
Translation and purport by Krishna Krupamurti, His loving divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
Whatever action is performed by a great man,
Whatever action is performed by
a great man,
common men follow.
common men follow.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada, please hear. A similar verse is also found in Bhagavad Gita 3.21. It is essential for human society to have a section of men perfectly trained as qualified brahmanas, according to the instructions of Vedic knowledge. Those below the Brahminical qualification, administrators, merchants and workers, should take instructions from those ideal people who are considered to be intellectuals. In this way, everyone can be elevated to the highest transcendental position and be freed from material attachment. The material world is described by Lord Krishna himself as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, a temporary place of misery. No one can stay here even if he makes a promise, he makes a compromise with misery. One has to give up this body and accept another, which may not even be a human body. As soon as one gets a material body, he becomes Deha Bhrita or Dehi. In other words, he is subjected to all the material conditions. The leaders of society must be so ideal that by following them, one can be relieved from the clutches of material existence. So it's a nice and short verse as we see, but sometimes the shortest verses, they carry the deepest lessons that we can utilize in our spiritual life, in our sadhana. So we see the verse that we read yesterday, 5:4-14. That verse, it was a long translation and basically it described that Maharaj Rishabh accepted householder life. Even the last line reads that by his instructions he showed how people could remain householders and at the same time become perfect by following the principles of Varnashram Dharma. So the previous verse was giving a fact, and throughout this chapter we are seeing that Shukdev Goswami is glorifying Maharaj Rishabdev. So previous verse was a fact why he accepted the householder life, and now this verse is giving the reason why is he accepting his Supreme Personality of Godhead, why is he accepting Grihastha life. Reason is this current verse, because yad yad acharati shrestha, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever action great men perform, people follow. So he is a shrestha, as even his name suggests, Rishabh, the best among the men. So he is a shrestha and he is showing by his own example. So we can learn by different methods. Sometimes we learn, we are taught just by instructions, just preaching, like we see in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is giving instructions to Arjuna. In Canto 4 we see Vidura and Maitreya Samvad. So questions and answers like that, and we can also learn by achara, by following. Like we see in the example of Lord Ram, he showed by his example, Rishabdev himself, Krishna. So all these incarnations, Lord chooses to teach by performing the action himself by his achara. So yad acharati. So Bhagavad Gita 3.21, Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that yad acharati shreshtas tatta eva itarajana, other people, they follow whatever actions the great men perform. And sayat pramanam kurute loka hatat anuvartate. So whatever standard they set, other people coming in future generations, they follow. So we may think that this is common sense, that we also see in society that people are always they don't like to use their own intelligence as much as possible. They like to just follow someone. We see in our common life also, we see that we go into a new place, we don't know what to do, but we just start doing what everyone else is doing. So that is a very common human behavior. For example, when we let's take a very mundane example. For let's say we bought a blender from the market. Now we bought the blender, it came with a manual, but we are in so much rush, we don't read the manual, we start using. So there is a chance we may break it. But imagine the director of the company that made the blender is so kind that he sometimes comes himself to show us how to use it personally, or he sends some of his reps, his representatives to show us how to use that blender. So same goes for human life. Krishna has given us the human life. He has given us the manual, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. But he is so merciful that he comes and he shows us how to utilize these human lives to its full potential, and how to attain the goal of spiritual goal of these human lives. Prabhupada mentions this about the goal of this life in material world in the second half of the purport. So Rishabdev, when he comes as son of King Nabi, and shows us the example of being a king, a householder life, a father, a husband, a very nice ruler. Then his character, the effect of his character is so influential that people start to follow, and that was the purpose of this incarnation. So Rishabdev would have appeared and just ordered, all the common people that all of you, I have given this Varnashram Dharma, I have established Varnashram Dharma, and all of you must follow it. But instead what he does is he comes just like one of us, and then he shows by his own example. So that is what the crux of today's verse is, that Rishabdev, Lord himself, has appeared as a human, and he is showing by his example. Prabhupada is saying in the second half of the purport that this world is Dukhalayam Shashvatam, a temporary place which is full of misery. So the goal of life, is to get out of this Dukhalayam, all the miseries. So the leader that we have, we have a material life, but there are no material solutions to material problems. The material problems need spiritual solutions. So the leader should also be a spiritual leader, not just a material leader. So leader should be one that just teaches how to earn more, how to live a comfortable material life. He should be the one who shows us what is the goal, the spiritual goal of this life also, which is to go back to Godhead in this very life. So we see in society that everyone is following someone. If we see in our family life, we have some children here, we see, if we keep telling the children, please don't shout, always, you should speak softly. But if in our home, if we are always shouting, children see us shouting, then when the situation comes, the children are going to shout. We can tell the children, don't watch your screen, don't be on your iPad, don't go on YouTube and watch the reels. But if they see us doing the same, then they are not going to listen to what we are saying, but they are going to do what we are doing. Somebody might be giving a class in the temple, the whole class might be on Prajalpa, that we shouldn't do Prajalpa, mundane talks, but at the end of the class, if the devotees, the newcomer devotees, if they see the same person, gossiping about something for half an hour, then are they going to follow that speech, or are they going to take note of their behavior? So we always learn, we may forget the words, but we never forget how, when we first time come into the temple, we never forget how we were treated, how the person, whoever devotee we met, how they made us feel. We may forget the words, but we never forget the feeling that we get by the acharan, by the characteristic, by the actions of the devotees. So the example that I gave of the children, if we shout, they will shout. In 1961, there was a psychologist named Albert Bandura. He gave a theory, social learning theory. So in that theory, he did a Bobo doll experiment. So with this Bobo doll is a very huge inflated doll, and he divided his research subjects into three groups. There was one control group, there was one aggressive group, and there was one calm group. So in the aggressive group, what he did, So he put this life-size inflatable doll in the room. Children were sitting, and one adult comes and just hits the doll very hard, makes it fall, says really angry words. He's very aggressive. And then he leaves the room, and then one by one the children are allowed to be alone in that room with that doll, and they are said that you don't have to do what that person did. You just have to be calm and play with the doll. But without any surprise, every child, they do the same. They are hitting, they are showing all their aggression towards that doll. And in the calm group, obviously, one adult came, they nicely played with the doll, pretended that the doll is the friend, and they are playing nicely with the doll. So after the person left, they were told that you just have to imagine that this doll is your enemy, and you just have to hit and say whatever, you can show your anger and everything. But without any surprise, what the children did was they nicely played with the doll like a friend. So this experiment, it is showing the same fact that Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami is saying that yadi acharati shreshtas tat tat evetaro janaha, that whatever actions great men perform, the other people follow. In English there is a saying that your actions are so loud that I can't hear what you are saying. And in many lectures, Srila Prabhupada has always said that your example, living the example of our philosophy is way better than giving the precept, the philosophy. So philosophy is not meaningless, but philosophy gets more meaning, gets more weight when people see us following that philosophy. So we only speak on the philosophy for half an hour, 1 hour every day, but for rest of the day we are supposed to follow that philosophy, and people are observing us following that philosophy. There is one surprising thing in the purport. What happens is, so Shukdev Goswami is describing Rishabdev. Rishabdev he has appeared in Kshatriya family. He is a Kshatriya, he is a king, and he is describing about him. But as soon as Prabhupada opens the purport, he talks about Brahmanas. That society needs qualified Brahmanas. So we might wonder why Prabhupada talks about Brahmanas. He is a Kshatriya. He is setting an example as a Kshatriya. So the reason is, we see that every society has a leader, and as we said in the second half of the purport, Prabhupada says that to decide who our leader should be, we need to know who we are. We are not matter, we are spirit souls. So we are spirit souls, we have spiritual goals, and our leaders should exemplify those spiritual goals. So our leader has to be not one who is materially qualified. Our leader should be one who is spiritually qualified. And Brahmanas, they have these qualities. They have the qualities of self-control, compassion, knowledge, simplicity. So when we have Brahmanas, qualified Brahmanas in the society, they become the anchor of the society. In Vedic society, Brahmanas have these qualities, the Brahmanical qualities, and then Kshatriyas, they take guidance, the kings, they take guidance from these Brahmanas. Vaishyas, they perform their businesses, their trade according to the instructions of Brahmanas, and Shudra, they follow, they serve according to the instructions of Brahmanas. So without this anchor of Brahmanas, the society might become very materialistic society, because there won't be any spiritual anchor in the society. And of course, we are not talking about the by birth Brahmanas that we spoke about in one of the verses in a couple of days ago, that we are talking about the qualified Brahmanas. So we see in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam different kings incarnations of God, Supreme Lord Himself, like Prithu Maharaj, he was called the Shaktiavesh Avatar. He takes instructions from Narad Muni, from four Kumaras. Dhruv Maharaj, he takes instructions from Narad Muni. And Rishabdev, he is instructing his sons. Amrish Maharaj, he also takes counsel from the Brahmanas in his assembly. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says that king is a representative of Supreme Lord, and king serves his praja as the servant of Supreme Lord. So Vedic system, it's not, when we are saying that Brahmanas are the anchors of Vedic society, we are not talking about some the modern day priestly dictatorship like we see in the Vatican City. Pope is the spiritual leader of Catholic Christians and is also the head of the state, or in the state of Islamic State of Iran, the spiritual leader is the head of state as well. We are not talking about that Vedic system. It is talking about cooperation between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas in the kings. So Vaishnava Brahmana, he gives the guidance to the king, and the king follows, and the king not only tries to make the subjects materially prosperous but also spiritually oriented. And no matter what time we are living in, in modern time we understand leadership or government, the goals are GDP and technological advancement, medical facilities, military strength, all that. But Srila Prabhupada is quoted that this material world is dukkhalayam shashvatam. So no matter what we do to improve these material conditions, but these four problems, they always remain. The disease is always there, old age is there, we cannot avoid the death, we cannot avoid the next birth. So there are, as we say, there are no material solutions to material problems. And in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam we see many examples of spiritual leadership, the good leadership. We see Amrish Maharaj. Amrish Maharaj, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam glorifies him. Why does Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam glorify him? Just is that because he conquered many states? No. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam glorifies Amrish Maharaj for him engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. There is a verse, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarane Karau Hare Mandir Marjanadishu Shrutim Chakara Achyuta Satkathodai. Just imagine you are a subject of Amrish Maharaj. Just imagine this temple is a kingdom of Amrish Maharaj, and you wake up early in the morning and you come for Mangala Arati, and Amrish Maharaj is already here. You come for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, for hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class, and the king is already sitting as an audience. He is also hearing Harikatha. Sometimes he is speaking Harikatha, and after the class you go to have prasadam, and king is honoring prasadam sitting on the floor. With his hands he is doing the marjan, the cleaning of the temple. So when we see the king exemplifying, engaging all his senses in service of the Lord, what effect will the praja have? Praja will also imitate the same. So, this kind of leadership that Bhagavatam is setting the example of, it doesn't need any fake promises or any publicity stunts or campaigns or social media presence or the written speeches. Just by his living his life as the king, people get inspired. So it's in modern government it is the misfortune of the people, because in the modern government the leader is the political leader with no spiritual education, sometimes not even material education, and he is guided by the diplomats. So they are also experts in the in the laws, in the legislations, in the constitution. But in the Vedic government, in the Vedic leadership, the state is led by king. King works under the guidance of Brahmanas. Brahmanas are experts in the scriptures. We know the 6 activities of Brahmanas, Patani, Patana. So they are experts in the scriptures. So they are guided by that. And the focus of Vedic leadership is dharma. Dharma is what is described, dharma tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. Dharma is what Supreme Lord Himself has established and is written, is documented in the Vedic scriptures. But in modern government, it follows the laws which are written by some humans. So it has all humans, we are bound to make mistakes, so there are mistakes. So when we follow in Vedic system, when we follow this kind of leadership, then obviously, as that verse says, yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarve gune satra samasute guna, that one who follows the principles of devotional service, the qualities of demigods, they automatically, naturally manifest in these people. So automatically, by following these kind of kings, the subjects, the praja, the common people, they also manifest the godly qualities. Then we see the example of Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is called the Shakti-avesh avatar of Lord Vishnu. So when Prithu Maharaj came, because of the previous king Vena, he was so wicked and sinful that the earth had stopped producing any grains. So Prithu Maharaj, he approaches Mother Earth. She takes the form of a cow, and then he milks the cow and produces ample rain and grains and herbs and everything. So he levels the land, and he develops a civilization, agriculture and everything. And in one assembly, Prithu Maharaj says that my subjects, you should perform the duties that satisfy the Supreme Lord. You should take association from the servants of the Lord, and you should associate with the devotees of the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj is an example of material as well as spiritual leadership. And we are seeing the example of Lord Rishabdev. We will see in coming chapters that Lord Rishabdev gives beautiful instructions to his sons. So he doesn't give these instructions first. First he shows by his example. He lives life as a grihastha, as a king, as the father of 100 sons, as a husband, as the king, and then after that he gives the instructions. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, when he came as a devotee of himself, he came as. So he says, Apani Achari Bhakti Shikhai no Samare, that I have come as a devotee, and by my own acharan, my own practicing devotional service, I am going to show. So in Vedic system, the leader is, in our life, if we try to think, the leader is not doesn't always have to be the king. We are all leaders in our own capacities. We can be parents, then we are teaching our children. We can be at our work, we can be the boss. In different capacities, we are elders to someone, our siblings, so they are learning from us. Sometimes even our parents are learning some things from us. So we all are leaders in different capacities. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, actually next chapter only, Rishabdev only, he is instructing his sons, and he says a beautiful verse that Gurur na sasyat svajano na sasyat pita na sasyat janani na sasyat daivam na tasyan na patishta tasyan namo chayetya sampeta mrityu. That one has no right to become a guru, a spiritual master of someone, a relative, father, a mother, a spouse, pati, or Patni and worshipable. Anyone has no right to be one of these if na mocheditya samupet mrityum. If one cannot direct their dependence towards the goal of life and how to get out of this cycle of birth and death. In this verse talks about Pitana Sasya. One should not be a father. So father is also a leader. Rishabdev, he also instructs his sons. And we see in life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we just celebrated last week Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, simultaneously he was a government magistrate, he was a husband, he was a father, he was a very prolific author, he was a great Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya, and he instructed his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it was Bimla Prasad in the before initiation. So he instructs him, he sends him to take initiation from Bhavaji. But he just did not instruct him that you should preach this philosophy of Vaishnavism. He provided the atmosphere in the home. There was atmosphere of Hari Katha, Nam Sankirtan, Vaishnava Seva. Sannyasis used to come and they would serve, deity worship. So he just did not give the instruction, but he lived the devotion inside the house, and the young Bimla Prasad, he witnessed all this, and he also became a great acharya. So this is a perfect example of that that bowl experiment that we saw, that children imitate what they see in bhakti. In our Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's life also we see the same thing, that he writes in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita that whatever he has learnt in devotional service he has learned from his father. And imagine Srila Prabhupada, if he stayed, he had given up his family life, he has taken sannyas, he was living in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And imagine if he just stayed there, his guru's instruction was, you should print books. If you ever get money, you should print books. So if he just stayed there, wrote the books, gave some lectures and tried to publish those books from there, then imagine would today's ISKCON even exist. But instead what he does is, at the stage of 70, he begs to everyone he meets. We just hear about his him meeting Srimati Moraji Desai and getting, she arranges his ticket to come to America. But when I heard some of the interviews of some people from Vrindavan that used to be in contact with Prabhupada when he was living in Radha Damodar temple, they were saying that every person that he met, he would somehow take the conversation towards, I'm writing these books and I want to go to America. So he was literally begging to people. Then he crossed the ocean, he suffered the heart attacks. He lived with the strangers when he reached America. He served them, he cooked for them. He did the kirtans all by himself, gave the lectures. So much he did. And that is why his words are so powerful. Today, it's 49 years have passed after his him leaving his body, but still today his words are affecting us. Most of us, we have never even met Srila Prabhupada, but we are so convinced, so dedicated with this philosophy just because of his words. And why are his words so powerful? Because each word that he has written in his books, he has lived those words. When we go for bungee jumping, they tie all the plastic restraints on us, the belts, and then there is a person standing behind us and we are on a high platform and the person just pushes us. So leadership is not like that. Leadership is not standing behind someone and saying go. Leadership is walking in the front and then leading by example and saying that come with me. So Srila Prabhupada didn't build this ISKCON just by forming an organization and writing its policy and just writing the books, and then he could have gone to New York, he would have rented some hall, and just 1 hour a day he would have given lectures on this philosophy. But no, he was living with these hippies. He was cooking for them himself, and these fresh devotees, they never had cooked themselves. So Prabhupada was cooking for them, showing them how to wash the rice, how to cook dal, how to cook chapati, how to make puri, how to fry them perfectly, how to make dal. He's doing all that. He's giving the lectures. Sometimes he would give the class. He would prepare all this prasadam, give the class, and only 5 people will come, only 3 people will come, only 1 person will come. I was watching an interview by His Grace Charu Prabhu. He just left his body a few months before, and so Charu Prabhu was originally a devotee from Australia, and I was reading about him on ISKCON Brisbane website, and it says that he was initially temple president of Melbourne, Sydney, even Brisbane, and then he had moved to the state of Utah in America, and he had developed a really nice community there. So Charu Prabhu, he used to work in radio station before taking initiation. So he had some contacts, and when he invited Prabhupada first time in Australia to give lectures, so he arranged some programs, and in one of the programs, all the devotees went with Srila Prabhupada, and what happens is no one turns up, not a single person turns up, and the devotees at the end, Prabhupada still gives the lecture, and devotees at the end, they start crying that Prabhupada, we did so much, we tried so hard, but nobody is interested. And then Prabhupada says that, didn't you see Narada Muni was there? Like this, Prabhupada has developed this institution. He just didn't tell his disciples that you should preach this philosophy. He took them with him. He gave lectures in front of him. He showed them how to face the audience, how to give answers, how to always remain calm. So everything that Srila Prabhupada did, that has formed the culture of ISKCON that we are following today. So Srila Prabhupada's life is a great example of Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. Even Krishna himself, this principle is so important. He talks about it in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavatam, throughout Bhagavatam, we see that he takes different incarnations through himself or through his devotees. He again and again establishes this principle, and he follows this principle himself also. In one of the verses in Bhagavad Gita, he says that in these 3 worlds, there is nothing that I need to attain. I don't have any duty, and I still continue to act. And then he says this verse, Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. So when he comes as Krishna, he shows by his example of being a son, husband, father. As Lord Ramchandra also, he shows the example of a good son, a good husband, a good father, a good king. Now in the example of Lord Rishabdev also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he shows example of being his own devotee. So Krishna just doesn't instruct us. We read in Bhagavad Gita so many instructions. But throughout Bhagavatam, we see the examples of many of these instructions being lived by himself or his devotees. I see the time, we're already very way over time. So we'll just quickly talk about how Srila Prabhupada in his preaching, he used this strategy of Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. We see, Prabhupada encouraged systematic, invitations to influential peoples. So Prabhupada, he used to meet. I had some letters that Prabhupada has written, quickly read. In one room conversation, Prabhupada said that if these big men of the world, if they take it, the Krishna consciousness movement, it is so genuine that naturally it will be followed by others. And Prabhupada was writing a letter to his disciple Karandhar Prabhu from Los Angeles, and he was inviting Prabhupada to come to Los Angeles. And Prabhupada says that actually now I'm busy in London. We just did a program where important men are coming to meet me in the evening for discussion of Krishna consciousness. I have talked with a very famous sculptor, a teacher, teacher of a boys' college, and today I met George Harrison. So Shyam Sundar is arranging for visits by many other famous men, and wherever I shall go now, this policy of important men being invited to talk with me about Krishna consciousness movement should be implemented. So Prabhupada, when he was in this planet, through his letters, he was encouraging all the temple presidents to identify the important men, significant men in their local society, invite them very gracefully, give them the Bhagavad Gita book, give them the philosophy, give them prasadam, and give them opportunity to somehow or other get engaged in this Krishna consciousness movement. And Prabhupada used to meet many industrialists, in India. He had the vision of making really big temples in Mumbai, in Vrindavan, in Mayapur. And all these, yes, of course, he had made a lot of disciples. They had dedicated their lives to him, to this philosophy. But building all these temples, to print all the books that he is writing, he needed money, he needed approvals from the local authorities, so he needed the influential people. So he used to meet many industrialists, Birla, Ruya, Goenka, so many industrialists he used to meet, and his approach was not that you have fame or you have wealth, so give me your wealth. His approach was to educate them also that this fame, this wealth is given to you by Krishna and it should be used in the service of Krishna. So he was seeing them as soul. Even the example of George Harrison, it's the prime example. George Harrison, when the devotees like Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Mukund Prabhu, when they met him naturally, They were living, devotees were running a small temple in London. They were struggling to pay the rent. They really needed a temple, but they didn't go to George Harrison and tell him. He was living in London. He was one of the biggest names in music industry at that time. They didn't go to him and tell him that, oh, please give us money, we need a temple. They made a natural friendship with him. They would go to him, do kirtan for him, give him prasad. He was also spiritually inclined, so discuss Bhagavad Gita with him. And like that, they made a friendship connection with them first. And he was saying how these boys and girls, they were following this philosophy they were trying to preach so nicely. Later on, George Harrison, he sponsored and he recorded the Radha Krishna temple album. He also financed the recording of Hare Krishna tune by Hare Krishna, recording by devotees, Govinda Madi Purusham that we hear. He supported in publishing the Krishna book. He also donated the Bhaktivedanta Manor. That is still a very significant temple in our movement even today. So same agenda Prabhupada had, that you have fame, you give me fame, not like that. He treated him, the devotees inspired by Prabhupada, treated him as a soul. And Prabhupada used to write letters to so many professors in the university, scholars, those who are researching in universities on religion. Many examples are there that he used to write to them, and the idea was that yad acharati shreshthasi, these intelligent, the people who are considered intelligent in society, if they take up this philosophy, then it will be widely accepted. Even the political leaders, long time before he came to America in 1947, he had written to Mahatma Gandhi that he was, because Gandhi was also very very inspired by Bhagavad Gita, and he was saying that whenever I face a challenge in my life, I go to the pages of Bhagavad Gita and I get my answers. So Prabhupada wrote to him and tried to convince him that you should give up this mundane politics and dedicate your life to, you have a very huge popularity on the moral basis, but you should utilize that in preaching the Bhagavad Gita that you are such a great follower of. Prabhupada had on all the bases possible. Prabhupada had tried to implement this principle. He was doing public kirtans, approaching the government officials, all the influential people in society, and that's a great example of Prabhupada following this principle. Even after Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, he also met Nelson Mandela, the president of Zambia, Muhammad Ali, many influential people, the local leaders, the tribal leaders, African leaders, and Radhanath Maharaj also is doing great work following the same principle. He has opened he has developed this Radha Gopinath community in Mumbai. So Mumbai is not like a small city, but it's a huge city where all the influential people, politicians, industrialists, celebrities, musicians, all these people, they live, and Maharaj has developed this nice community where and the doctors come, and it's not like Maharaj sees the doctors and tells them, we should, I have a vision to open a hospital, but he trains them in being nice devotees. And then, later on, some of these doctors, they approached Maharaj, they became disciples of Maharaj, and they asked Maharaj, how can we serve you? And then Maharaj said, we should, you can engage your skills and we can open. So there is a nice Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Institute in Mumbai, the Govardhan Eco Village. Gauranga Prabhu was mentioning once that on one of the Vyas Puja of Maharaj, he just asked Maharaj, how can I serve you? And Maharaj just dropped the bomb that I want to have this nice community, farming community, where we support the farmers, we train them in Krishna conscious philosophy, and we have a place like Vrindavan with all the temples and lakes, beautiful lakes, everything. And Maharaj said, you have to take leadership of this project. So that's how Govardhan Eco Village has come about. Then in Barsana, there is Barsana Eye Project. A lot of doctors Prabhupada and Radha Maharaj had taken for a yatra in 1992. They saw the need, and they started doing the eye camps there, and now there is a permanent eye hospital there. So like that, Radha Maharaj is also exemplifying how we can try to preach, try to first practice this philosophy, live it and preach it to the influential people in society. So in conclusion, we are all leaders in our own capacities. We might think that, I'm not giving classes, so I'm not preaching, but by our lives, we are always preaching. Preaching is not just what we do on a Saturday when there is a lot of people in the temple. Preaching is also what we do on a quiet Tuesday when there is nobody in the temple and we are serving the deity. So yes, I will conclude here. If anyone has any questions, clarifications, corrections for me, please feel free to share. Today is Ekadashi. Yes. And Chaturmas is starting today or from Purnima?
Question, Mataji. Yeah, this verse basically is talking about the leadership being a leader is supposedly become a good example. But sometimes devotees see the fault in it.
The faults.
They expect the leaders to be faultless, basically. So we understand nobody is perfect. But how much level of being leaders, especially in our society, devotees are expecting them to be leading by example, to be perfect, you know?
Yes.
Because they always see the faults. But, my question is how much one should endeavor to
Yeah.
become a good leader, you know, or how much one should become perfect, you know, in some way.
Yes, as we see in the Vedic leadership example, as we were talking, the king is a kshatriya, so same principle applies to our temple presidents. They are a kshatriya, good at administration, and they also following the philosophy as much as they can, and also taking guidance from more advanced devotees who are like brahmanas. So. This is material world, Prabhuji. What to do? People are, even though they are in this movement, even though they are also devotees, they are also Vaishnavas following this philosophy. But we all have faults. So sometimes devotees may have the fault of looking for faults in other devotees. What can we do? We can follow the philosophy, be truthful to Srila Prabhupada, and just pray for those devotees that they come out of this tendency. Would you like to add something?
It's a very interesting question that, in material world everyone has tendency to commit mistakes, and we want a leader should be an ideal character. So how we reconcile these two? Yes, we agree that everyone has the tendency to commit mistakes, but two things they don't relate to this committing mistakes tendency. One is you have given one example of Ambrish Maharaj. So even though he was the emperor, like you were telling, when you come to Mangalarti, he was there. When you go for Bhagavatam class, he was there. When he takes prasadam, you were also there. When you go there, he was there. That means, so a leader should have two qualities. One is a visibility and sincerity. So even if you have tendency to commit mistakes, so if you have a proper visibility for the followers, then what happens is, then they will find out, yes, you have this mistake. So when you hide something back, then people always tell that you have mistakes, but that may not be the mistake. So a leader should have visibility, and he should be sincere in his own effort. Just like a big CEO is sincere in earning money, and a middle class man is also sincere in earning money. So similarly, sincerity doesn't need to have an impeccable character, that we can't do any mistakes or something. So that's why these two principles are very important. You must be visible. That's why for all followers, leader is visible. But for a leader, the other people are not visible. So that is the meaning of leader. Suppose imagine if a leader is behind, then gives the instruction, now you go, I've shown you the path. They will not follow. They will have many exits because the highway has many exits. And sincere means we should be very sincere in our purpose to serve Krishna. And if we are very sincere, then because Paramatma is in everyone's heart, so that will make things work. Otherwise, everyone makes mistakes, and we all have our own imperfections, and we can never be an ideal. But leaving aside these ideal conditions, these two things, they don't need anything. They don't need anything. Visibility and sincerity.
so that committing mistakes, but I think it's also important. I think it's not from the sincerity part that to learn from that, from mistakes. So if mistake has been committed, so learn from it, and then make a honest endeavor so that we don't commit that again. Because otherwise, like it will be, as I was saying, spotless character is not possible. So when the sincerity is there, then obviously the Lord helps. But important is that what happened, we learn from it, take it from it, and then move forward. Otherwise, if we just endeavor to be that spotless character, then nothing will be done. It's never like it's not possible. It's not really good.
Alright, thank you everyone for joining today. Those who are here personally and those who have joined from home, thank you so much. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahapuran ki Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
All
Jai.
Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mataji, what did he say? What did he say? Sincerity and character?
And visibility.
Visibility.
First is visibility.
Visibility. So leader should be visible.
Prabhu was giving the example of Amrish Maharaj, as we said, you come to Mangalarti, Amrish Maharaj is there, in Bhagavatam class is there, Prashadam time is there. So visibility, people should see that and endeavor, seek their endeavor.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. We couldn't hear. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Arundhati Mataji, Papa Nagi.
Hare Krishna.